Imagine a life where no challenge seems insurmountable, where peace of mind remains unshaken by life's storms. Now, imagine if this powerful calmness, this inner resilience, could be cultivated through principles discovered over 2,000 years ago. Yes, these principles come from the age-old philosophy of Stoicism. But why should we, in our modern world of constant noise, heed these ancient lessons? Perhaps you've felt overwhelmed by the stress of daily life, whether it's the slow crawl of traffic when you're already late, or the sting of a thoughtless remark from a stranger online. Yet, what if every frustration, every challenge, could transform into an opportunity for growth, for peace, and for meaning? This is what Stoicism offers. In today's exploration, we meet an unlikely guide, Leo, a modern-day seeker just like you, grappling with his own trials and drawn to Stoic teachings not out of curiosity, but necessity. Through Leo's journey, we'll uncover 12 Stoic principles that, when truly understood, can lead to immediate, profound transformation. As we dive into these principles, ask yourself, how would your life look if you mastered these timeless skills? Let's begin this journey together, starting with one of Stoicism's most profound insights. Principle 1. Mindfulness and living in the now. What does it really mean to live in the present? And why is it so elusive? In a bustling city, Leo stands at a crosswalk, scrolling mindlessly through his phone, oblivious to the world around him. As he waits for the light to change, he glances up, noticing the rush of people around him, each absorbed in their own worlds. For a moment, Leo feels detached, almost like a spectator in his own life, watching time pass, yet never fully experiencing it. He realizes he's always either worrying about his next meeting or replaying yesterday's frustrations. But then, a thought crosses his mind. What would it feel like to be fully present, just here and now? The concept of living in the present moment has long been a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's most celebrated thinkers, wrote, "Do not dwell in the past, do not dream of the future, concentrate the mind on the present moment." But what does that mean, and why is it so important? For Leo, mindfulness seems almost unnatural. His mind constantly races forward, worrying about what's next or replaying past mistakes. And he's not alone in this. Many of us struggle to quiet the ceaseless chatter of our minds, yearning for some momentary stillness. But the Stoics knew something profound about this struggle. They believed that true strength, peace, and fulfillment lie in embracing the present as it unfolds, free from regrets or anxieties. One day, Leo decides to experiment with this principle. He pauses at a park bench during his lunch break, setting aside his phone and simply observing the world around him. He notices the laughter of a child, the gentle rustle of leaves, and the warm touch of sunlight on his face. For the first time in a long while, he feels truly alive. He's not worrying about his deadlines or replaying a recent argument with a friend. Instead, he's here, in this exact moment, experiencing life as it is. This simple act of mindfulness, though brief, starts to reveal the richness that exists in each present moment. Leo begins to notice that each time he lets himself fully experience his surroundings without distraction, his stress diminishes, his mood lifts, and he feels a deeper connection to life itself. It's as though he's found a hidden treasure buried in the ordinary details of his day. But why is it so hard to stay present? Our minds are often cluttered with thoughts, anxieties about tomorrow, and regrets about the past. This constant mental noise pulls us away from the beauty of the here and now. As Leo reflects on this, he realizes that he's been living in a mental fog, allowing the true moments of his life to pass by unnoticed. But with each attempt at mindfulness, the fog starts to lift. The Stoics knew that living in the present wasn't about ignoring the future or forgetting the past. Instead, it's about finding balance, learning from the past, and planning for the future without letting them consume us. This delicate balance is where the richness of life exists. For Leo, each day becomes a practice in presence. He learns to savor his morning coffee, to notice the warmth of his dog's fur as he pets it, and to listen fully to friends when they speak. Each act of mindfulness builds on the last, leading him toward a life of deeper meaning and fulfillment. And so I ask you, what would happen if you began to live more fully in the present? Could you find greater peace in the simplicity of each moment? Perhaps, like Leo, you'd discover a newfound appreciation for the life unfolding right before you. In the next principle, we'll see how Leo handles the unexpected obstacles life throws his way, transforming each one into an opportunity for growth. Principle 2. Obstacle as opportunity. What if every obstacle in your life was not a barrier, but a bridge to something greater? Leo, our guide in this journey, faced a significant roadblock in his career. After years of dedication, he was passed over for a promotion he felt he'd earned. Frustrated and disappointed, he found himself asking, "Why me? Why do things always go wrong just when I'm close to my goal?" But a few days later, while scrolling through a book of Stoic quotes, he came across words that would change his perspective forever. The ancient Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Leo stopped, reading the line over and over again. What could it mean that the obstacle becomes the way? How could his setback at work be anything more than a frustration, let alone a path forward? With this question stirring in his mind, Leo decided to reframe his situation. Instead of viewing the lost promotion as a failure, he considered it a challenge, an opportunity to grow in ways he hadn't yet realized. He began asking himself, what can I learn from this experience? How can this setback make me stronger? This shift in mindset didn't happen overnight. Each day, Leo faced the nagging frustration and self-doubt. But with each day, he chose to look deeper, embracing the Stoic principle of transforming obstacles into opportunities. He realized he'd been neglecting a crucial skill for his role and decided to invest time in improving it. His setback, rather than a source of despair, became a catalyst for self-improvement. Soon, Leo noticed a change in himself. He was no longer driven solely by the external validation of a promotion, but by a personal commitment to growth and resilience. Each small victory in his skill development brought him satisfaction, not because he was seeking rewards, but because he was becoming the person he wanted to be. The obstacle truly had become the way forward. The Stoics believed that life's obstacles are not merely challenges to overcome. They are teachers, guiding us to develop strengths we might not have discovered otherwise. In facing setbacks, we grow more adaptable, resilient, and wise. This principle, embraced by Stoics like Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius, flips the script on failure. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" we learn to ask, "What can I learn from this?" Leo's journey in embracing this principle didn't just change his approach to career challenges. It transformed his perspective on life itself. Each obstacle, large or small, became an invitation to grow. A late bus became an opportunity to practice patience. A disagreement with a friend became a chance to improve his communication skills. In every challenge, he saw a way to build the character he admired. As you think about the obstacles in your life, ask yourself, what would happen if, like Leo, you chose to see each setback as an opportunity for growth? Could the obstacle in your path become a stepping stone toward becoming the person you aspire to be? In the next principle, we'll explore how Leo learns to cultivate resilience in the face of adversity, turning even the toughest moments into fuel for inner strength. Principle 3. Emotional resilience. How can we manage our emotions not by suppressing them, but by understanding and strengthening our response? As Leo continued to apply Stoic principles to his daily life, he encountered an unexpected test of his resolve. One evening, after a challenging day at work, he received a call from a close friend, Maya, who had troubling news. She had been let go from her job, one she deeply valued. As she poured out her frustration, sadness, and confusion, Leo found himself reflecting on his own struggles with disappointment. How could he support Maya without being swept away by her pain? How could he remain calm yet compassionate? It was in this moment that Leo remembered another Stoic insight, this time from Epictetus. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. He realized that Maya didn't need a lecture or advice. She needed someone to listen, to acknowledge her feelings without judgment or fear. She needed someone who could be strong for her, without becoming overwhelmed himself. Leo encouraged Maya to let her emotions flow freely, but also reminded her gently that her strength was not in avoiding her feelings, but in how she would choose to respond to them. They talked about resilience, not as a rigid suppression of emotion, but as a gentle, steady acknowledgement of pain with the determination to rise above it. By the end of the conversation, Maya felt calmer, and so did Leo. In helping her, he'd also discovered something crucial about himself. The Stoics saw emotional resilience as a skill, something we can cultivate with practice and patience. It is the ability to experience our emotions fully without letting them control us. Seneca wrote that life's hardships are tests of character, not to weaken us, but to strengthen our resolve. This perspective helped Leo view resilience as an art, an ability to weather emotional storms without letting them cloud his judgment or derail his inner peace. In the days that followed, Leo found himself in moments that tested his emotional resilience. There was the colleague who snapped at him over a minor error, and the sting of a friend's forgotten promise. Each time, he felt the initial surge of frustration or disappointment, but he also noticed that he could pause, breathe, and choose how to respond. Instead of reacting impulsively, he practiced patience, observing his emotions without being swept away by them. He began to see his emotional responses not as obstacles to avoid, but as opportunities to practice self-control and understanding. The Stoics remind us that emotional resilience doesn't mean we avoid pain or suppress our emotions. Instead, it is the art of moving through emotions with grace, allowing ourselves to feel deeply but choosing our responses wisely. It's a reminder that while we may not control every event or interaction, we do have power over our own minds, our own reactions. Leo's journey of resilience didn't make him immune to pain or frustration. Rather, it gave him a powerful toolkit to handle life's emotional ups and downs. He learned to lean into his emotions with curiosity instead of fear, to ask, "What is this feeling teaching me?" And by embracing his emotions rather than resisting them, he found that even the most challenging feelings began to lose their power over him. As you consider your own emotional challenges, ask yourself, what if, like Leo, you saw each difficult emotion as a teacher? Could you find strength in understanding and managing your emotions rather than being controlled by them? In the next principle, we'll see how Leo cultivates self-discipline, discovering how this inner power transforms his choices and aligns his life with his deepest values. Principle 4. Self-discipline. What if self-discipline wasn't about restriction, but about empowerment? As Leo continued his journey into Stoicism, he found himself face to face with one of the most powerful and challenging principles of all: self-discipline. For years, Leo had struggled with small habits that subtly undermined his goals. He would stay up late, scrolling through social media or watching one more episode of his favorite series, only to wake up tired and unfocused. Each day he resolved to make a change, and each night he would fall back into old habits. Why, he wondered, was it so difficult to stick to the choices that would truly serve him? One evening, while reading more about Stoic principles, he came across a quote from Marcus Aurelius. "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." These words struck Leo deeply. What if he could learn to master his own mind, to choose actions that aligned with his values rather than his impulses? Determined to take control, Leo began by making small adjustments. Instead of trying to overhaul his routine overnight, he focused on one commitment: going to bed an hour earlier. He created a calming evening routine, turning off his devices, reading, and reflecting on his day. This small act of discipline didn't come easily. Each night, he faced the temptation to return to his old habits, but he reminded himself that true freedom, according to the Stoics, comes from within, from the power to choose what aligns with one's values and not merely what feels good in the moment. As Leo began to master this habit, he felt an inner shift. His mornings became clearer and his focus at work improved. He was no longer battling the fatigue that had once clouded his mind. This sense of control over his routine empowered him, and he soon began to apply the same principle to other areas of his life: his spending, his diet, and even his relationships. Instead of reacting impulsively, he paused, asking himself, "Will this choice bring me closer to the person I want to be?" The Stoics believed that self-discipline is not about denial, but about living in alignment with our true values. Seneca once advised, "Be steadfast and control your desires rather than being controlled by them." For Leo, this wasn't about giving up enjoyment. It was about creating a life of meaningful choice. He found satisfaction not in the immediate gratification he once sought, but in the gradual, fulfilling progress toward his larger goals. But self-discipline wasn't always easy. There were days when Leo felt tempted to break his routines, to indulge his whims, or to take the easy path. He learned, however, that discipline is like a muscle. The more he practiced it, the stronger it became. Every time he chose to follow his values instead of his impulses, he felt his confidence grow. And perhaps, most surprisingly, self-discipline led Leo to a deeper form of happiness. He no longer felt at the mercy of every fleeting desire or mood. He began to see that the true joy of self-discipline is not in deprivation, but in the quiet satisfaction of living a life that is true to oneself. So ask yourself, what would happen if you embraced self-discipline, not as a restriction, but as a path to freedom? What habits could you create today that would align your life with your values, bringing you closer to your best self? In the next principle, we'll witness how Leo learns to appreciate the beauty of life as it is, discovering the profound power of gratitude. Principle 5. Gratitude. What if happiness isn't about acquiring more, but about appreciating what we already have? As Leo continued his journey, he found himself confronting a sense of dissatisfaction he couldn't quite shake. Even with his newfound self-discipline and resilience, he sometimes felt a lingering emptiness, a quiet longing for something more. He caught himself scrolling through social media, comparing his life to those he saw online, feeling as though he was missing out on something vital. Was it a better job? More adventure? A bigger house? One evening, in the midst of this restlessness, Leo stumbled upon another gem of Stoic wisdom. This time, it was from Marcus Aurelius, who advised, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." These simple words struck Leo profoundly. Could it be that the happiness he sought wasn't in having more, but in appreciating what he already had? Inspired, Leo decided to adopt a new morning routine. Each day, before jumping into his to-do list, he paused to write down 3 things he was grateful for. At first it felt forced, even trivial, but soon he began noticing the subtle shift it created in his perspective. One day, he wrote down his appreciation for his morning coffee, the warmth of sunlight through his window, and the laughter of his neighbor's children playing outside. Each simple detail added a richness to his day that he hadn't felt before. As he practiced gratitude, Leo realized that he was cultivating a new lens through which he viewed his life. No longer was he focused solely on what he lacked or desired. He was beginning to appreciate the abundance that already existed around him. It was as if a veil had lifted, allowing him to see beauty in moments he once overlooked. A quiet walk through the park, a good book, a heartfelt conversation with a friend. All these moments now felt precious. The Stoics understood gratitude as a pathway to true contentment. Seneca, another influential Stoic philosopher, observed, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor." This idea of craving more as a source of poverty resonated deeply with Leo. He realized that, by always chasing after what he didn't have, he had overlooked the wealth that was already within his grasp. Over time, gratitude began to transform Leo's approach to challenges as well. When things didn't go his way, he practiced shifting his focus from what was lost to what could still be appreciated. If he missed an opportunity, he was grateful for the lessons learned. When he encountered a setback, he reminded himself of the resilience he was building. Through gratitude, Leo found a way to transform even difficult moments into sources of value. He began to see gratitude as more than a fleeting feeling. It was a practice, a discipline in itself. The Stoics believed that a grateful heart is less prone to envy, greed, and dissatisfaction. For Leo, gratitude became a source of peace, a reminder that life's richness is often found in what we already have, if only we take the time to see it. So, let me ask you, what are 3 things you can be grateful for today? If you pause to appreciate the people, experiences, and simple pleasures in your life, how might your perspective shift? Could you, like Leo, find a sense of fulfillment in recognizing the beauty of the present? In the next principle, we'll explore how Leo learns to value his inner world over external validation, understanding that true worth comes not from others' opinions, but from his own integrity. Principle 6. Let go of others' opinions. What if true freedom lies not in pleasing others, but in honoring our own integrity? As Leo's journey into Stoicism deepened, he noticed something troubling. He often found himself caught up in the opinions of others. Whether it was a critical comment from a colleague or a casual remark from a friend, Leo would dwell on these words, letting them cloud his mind and disrupt his peace. He wondered why, despite his efforts to cultivate resilience and gratitude, he was still so affected by others' judgments. "Why do I care so much about what others think?" he asked himself. One evening, as he reflected on this inner turmoil, he came across a powerful insight from Marcus Aurelius. "I have often wondered how it is that every man loves himself more than all the rest of men, yet sets less value on his own opinion of himself than on the opinion of others." Leo found this thought perplexing yet revealing. Why did he value others' judgments more than his own sense of worth? What if instead he learned to prioritize his own values and principles? With this question guiding him, Leo decided to conduct a little experiment. The next time he received a piece of criticism, instead of reacting defensively or letting it weigh him down, he took a step back and asked himself, "Is this feedback valuable, or am I simply giving it too much importance?" This shift in mindset brought surprising clarity. he found that much of what he once agonized over was fleeting and, in many cases, irrelevant to his true goals. As Leo continued this practice, he realized that letting go of others' opinions was not about ignoring constructive feedback. Instead, it was about grounding his self-worth in his own principles and actions, rather than in the fluctuating opinions of others. He no longer sought validation through praise or feared judgment. Instead, he focused on living in alignment with his own values. The Stoics taught that freedom lies in controlling our response to external events, not in controlling the events themselves. Epictetus, another Stoic philosopher, reminded his students that others' opinions are beyond our control and therefore not worth our energy. Leo embraced this wisdom, learning to recognize the difference between what was within his power, his actions, thoughts, and responses, and what was not, others' opinions and judgments. With each passing day, Leo felt a growing sense of inner freedom. No longer did he feel pressured to conform to every expectation or opinion. Instead, he was discovering what it meant to be true to himself. He noticed that by focusing on his own integrity, he was developing a stronger sense of confidence and peace. When he made decisions, he asked himself not what others would think, but whether his choice was aligned with his own principles. This newfound autonomy began to shape all areas of his life. He no longer felt the need to explain or justify himself to everyone. He recognized that those who mattered respected him for who he was, and those who didn't weren't worth the mental energy. For Leo, this was a profound realization. True freedom is not found in others' approval, but in the courage to live authentically. Letting go of others' opinions gave Leo a rare gift, self-acceptance. He realized that valuing his own perspective didn't mean ignoring feedback, but recognizing his inherent worth. He learned to trust himself, finding a sense of validation that no amount of external praise could match. So, ask yourself, in the next principle, we'll see how Leo learns to cultivate compassion and empathy, extending his newfound inner peace toward others with understanding and kindness. Principle 7. Compassion and empathy. What if the strength we cultivate within could also be a source of comfort and support for others? As Leo continued on his journey through Stoic philosophy, he noticed a significant shift in himself. He had learned to master his emotions, cultivate self-discipline, and let go of others' opinions, which brought him a deep sense of inner calm and resilience. However, there was something still missing, a sense of connection with those around him. He began to wonder, what is all this personal growth if I'm disconnected from others? One evening, while revisiting Stoic teachings, Leo stumbled upon a passage from Marcus Aurelius that felt like a revelation. Marcus wrote, "What brings no benefit to the hive brings none to the bee." The words lingered in Leo's mind, reminding him that while individual strength and inner peace are essential, they are incomplete without compassion and empathy toward others. The Stoics believed in the interconnectedness of all humans. They saw each person not as an isolated individual, but as part of a greater whole. Motivated by this idea, Leo decided to shift his focus outward. The next day, he set a small intention to truly listen to people he interacted with, whether it was his co-workers, friends, or even strangers. He wanted to understand them, to put himself in their shoes, to feel their experiences from their perspectives. It wasn't about agreeing with everyone or fixing their problems, but simply about creating a space where they felt seen and understood. At first, this practice felt unfamiliar. Leo was so used to solving his own challenges that extending empathy didn't come naturally. But over time, he found that listening with compassion not only connected him with others, but also deepened his own self-understanding. When his friend James shared frustrations about a difficult family situation, Leo listened without judgment or the urge to offer solutions. He was there as a supportive presence, letting James feel truly heard. In the past, he might have rushed to offer advice, but now he understood that empathy was about creating a safe space rather than always trying to fix things. The Stoics taught that compassion is not a sign of weakness, but a powerful strength. Seneca, another Stoic philosopher, emphasized the importance of treating others with kindness and understanding, reminding us that everyone carries their own burdens. He saw compassion not as a burden, but as a natural, powerful part of being human. Leo discovered that by embracing compassion, he felt a sense of joy and purpose beyond what personal achievements alone could provide. As Leo continued this practice, he noticed how empathy transformed his relationships. It softened misunderstandings, resolved conflicts, and strengthened bonds. In moments of disagreement, instead of reacting defensively, he would take a breath, remember the Stoic principle of compassion, and ask himself, what might this person be going through? How can I respond with understanding rather than judgment? This shift wasn't just about helping others. It was about deepening his own humanity. The more Leo practiced empathy, the more he noticed that each act of kindness brought a quiet sense of fulfillment, a reminder of the interconnectedness that the Stoics revered. He was no longer just a solitary individual on a personal growth journey. He was part of a shared human experience. For Leo, compassion became a daily practice, not an occasional act. He learned to be present with people's joys and sorrows, sharing in their moments without losing his own sense of peace. He realized that, like physical strength, compassion and empathy require continuous practice. But each act, no matter how small, added depth to his relationships and a profound sense of purpose to his life. And so, I ask you, how might your relationships change if you approached others with a Stoic sense of compassion and empathy? Could you, like Leo, find a deeper connection to yourself and others by simply being present and understanding? In the next principle, Leo will explore the art of acceptance, learning how to gracefully embrace change and find peace within life's inevitable transitions. Principle 8. Acceptance of change. What if, instead of fearing change, we could embrace it as a natural part of life's journey? One of the hardest lessons Leo faced on his Stoic journey was the inevitability of change. He had always tried to hold on to the familiar, to preserve the things and people he cherished. Whether it was a close friendship, a job he loved, or even his own youth, Leo struggled with the idea that nothing lasts forever. He wanted life to stay as it was, predictable and constant. But time and again, he found himself facing the unexpected. Jobs ended, people moved away, seasons changed. It left him wondering. While reflecting on this, Leo discovered a powerful passage by Marcus Aurelius. Accept whatever comes to you woven in the pattern of your destiny, for what could more aptly fit your needs. These words urged Leo to see change, not as a disruption, but as an essential part of life's rhythm. The Stoics believed that change was woven into the fabric of existence, a force neither good nor bad, but simply natural. Inspired by this perspective, Leo decided to approach his relationship with change differently. Instead of resisting it, he began to observe it in the world around him. He noticed how the trees in his neighborhood shed their leaves in autumn, only to bloom again in spring. He watched as day turned to night and night back into day. Nature itself seemed to move in cycles, adapting and embracing each season. Could he do the same in his own life? One evening, Leo received a call from his mother, who shared the news that the house he grew up in was being sold. This house held countless memories, from his childhood laughter to family gatherings. Initially, he felt a deep pang of sadness and loss. But then he remembered the Stoic view of change, that it was neither good nor bad, but a natural progression. He asked himself, what would happen if I embraced this change rather than resisted it? Instead of clinging to the past, Leo chose to visit the house one last time and celebrate the memories it held. As he walked through each room, he allowed himself to feel the joy, nostalgia, and even sadness. But he didn't resist these emotions. He let them flow naturally, understanding that change, even when painful, could be a source of growth and new beginnings. The Stoics believed that true peace comes from understanding what is within our control and what is not. Epictetus, another Stoic philosopher, advised that we cannot control external events, but we can control how we perceive and respond to them. For Leo, this meant learning to accept change without trying to stop it. It meant finding peace in the knowledge that everything in life, from seasons to relationships to our own bodies, is in a constant state of flux. As Leo continued to practice this acceptance, he noticed a shift within himself. He no longer feared the unknown or mourned the passing of the past. Instead, he found himself embracing the present moment with gratitude, knowing that it too would one day change. Each day became a gift, a unique experience that he could appreciate fully without the need to preserve it forever. In learning to accept change, Leo felt a sense of freedom he had never known before. Acceptance of change doesn't mean giving up or being passive. Rather, it's about seeing each transition as an opportunity to grow, to adapt, and to find beauty in each phase of life. The Stoics remind us that by resisting change, we only create unnecessary suffering for ourselves. But by embracing it, we open ourselves to new experiences and deeper understanding. And so I ask you, what changes are you facing in your own life? Could you, like Leo, find peace in accepting them as part of life's natural flow? What if, instead of fearing the end of one chapter, you welcomed the beginning of a new one? In the next principle, Leo will delve into the art of reflection, learning how to examine his actions and thoughts, to live with greater purpose and clarity. Principle 9. Reflection and self-review. What if taking time to reflect on our actions could transform not just our choices, but our entire lives? As Leo continued his journey with Stoic principles, he realized that while he was growing in many ways, he often felt uncertain about whether he was truly living in line with his values. He was developing resilience, practicing self-discipline, and embracing gratitude, but he still found himself sometimes veering off course, uncertain of his next steps. This uncertainty led him to one of the most powerful Stoic practices of all, the art of daily reflection. One evening, Leo came across a simple yet profound piece of advice from the Stoic philosopher Epictetus. Epictetus encouraged his students to end each day with a reflection on their actions, asking questions like, what did I do well? What did I do wrong? What duties did I leave undone? Leo saw in this practice an opportunity to bring clarity and direction into his life, to ensure that each day brought him closer to his own ideals. Determined to put this into practice, Leo began setting aside a few minutes every evening to quietly reflect on his day. At first, the practice felt awkward, and he struggled to pinpoint specific moments worth reflecting on. But as he persisted, he found that these moments of reflection became a powerful anchor, a way to assess his progress and realign with his values. Each night, he asked himself. One night, Leo reflected on an argument he'd had with a friend. During the conversation, he'd been defensive, letting his emotions dictate his words. As he thought about it that evening, he realized he hadn't acted in alignment with the empathy and patience he valued. This insight wasn't about judging himself harshly. It was about recognizing an opportunity to grow. The next day, he reached out to his friend, apologized, and expressed his intention to listen more openly in the future. This simple act of reflection allowed him to see his own actions more clearly, turning a moment of frustration into one of connection and self-awareness. The Stoics understood that reflection is not about regret or self-criticism, but about learning and improvement. Marcus Aurelius, in his personal writings, emphasized that the quality of our thoughts shapes the quality of our lives. By taking time to examine his thoughts and actions, Leo was learning to steer his life with intention, rather than being tossed about by fleeting emotions or impulses. As this practice became a daily ritual, Leo noticed a transformation in himself. He became more mindful, catching himself in moments of impatience or frustration, and choosing a response that aligned with his values. Reflecting each evening helped him approach each day with greater purpose, as he learned from his past actions and set a clearer path for the future. His relationships improved, his focus sharpened, and his confidence grew, as he felt more in control of his life's direction. But perhaps the most profound lesson Leo learned was the importance of self-compassion in this practice. Reflection was not a tool for judging himself, but for understanding himself. He began to approach his mistakes with the same kindness he would offer a friend, seeing them as stepping stones on his journey of growth. This shift allowed him to build a resilient, honest relationship with himself, one rooted in acceptance and a genuine desire to improve. So, I ask you, what could you learn from taking a few moments each day to reflect on your actions? Could you, like Leo, discover new ways to align your life with your values and find greater clarity in your choices? In the next principle, Leo will explore the Stoic idea of personal excellence, discovering how to cultivate virtue in every action and striving to become the best version of himself. Principle 10. Personal excellence. What if true fulfillment comes not from what we achieve, but from the kind of person we become in the process? As Leo progressed on his Stoic journey, he began to feel a shift in his ambitions. He used to measure success by traditional milestones, promotions, accolades, social recognition. But now, he was beginning to question if these achievements truly aligned with the kind of person he aspired to be. What if, he wondered, real success was less about accolades and more about inner growth, about living a life rooted in integrity and virtue? One evening, while reflecting on this question, he encountered a quote from Marcus Aurelius: "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one." These words were like a revelation. Marcus wasn't concerned with abstract definitions of success or debating what virtue should look like. Instead, he urged action, to embody the values we hold dear, to strive for personal excellence every day, regardless of external circumstances. Leo decided to make personal excellence his guiding principle. But what did that look like? He began by defining the virtues he admired: patience, honesty, humility, resilience, and kindness. Instead of setting goals solely focused on external accomplishments, he set goals that helped him embody these virtues in his daily life. His goal was no longer simply to succeed at work, but to approach his tasks with integrity and diligence, regardless of recognition. One day, Leo was given a difficult project at work, a task that seemed impossible to complete within the deadline. He knew that in the past, he might have rushed, cut corners, or focused solely on meeting the expectations of his boss. But now, he saw this project as an opportunity to practice personal excellence. He reminded himself to focus on the quality of his work, to do it to the best of his ability, not just to complete it quickly. When obstacles arose, he approached them with patience and resilience, remembering that excellence was about the process, not just the end result. The Stoics believed that virtue, or excellence of character, was the highest good. They saw personal excellence as a daily commitment to living in alignment with one's values, no matter the challenges that arise. For Leo, striving for virtue meant treating others with respect and kindness, even when he felt stressed or frustrated. It meant practicing honesty, even when it might have been easier to tell a small lie to avoid conflict. Each day, he asked himself, "What kind of person do I want to be today?" This question became his compass. As Leo practiced this principle, he noticed a profound shift in his sense of fulfillment. He felt a deep, quiet satisfaction from knowing he was living according to his own values, rather than the shifting expectations of others. He found that the pursuit of personal excellence gave him a sense of purpose that went beyond any particular achievement. It became a way of life, a standard he held himself to, regardless of external validation. Through this journey, Leo also learned that personal excellence was not about perfection. He made mistakes, felt moments of frustration, and sometimes fell short of his ideals. But each time, he reflected, learned, and recommitted to his values. The Stoics believed that excellence is not an end goal, but a continuous practice, a daily effort to embody virtue. As Aristotle once said, excellence is never an accident. It is always the result of high intention, sincere effort, and intelligent execution. For Leo, this commitment to personal excellence extended into every area of his life. It shaped his relationships, his work, his approach to challenges, and even his relationship with himself. He found that by focusing on becoming the best version of himself, he gained a deeper sense of peace and purpose, one that external success alone could never provide. And so, I ask you, what virtues would you choose to embody if you pursued personal excellence? How would your life change if you focused on becoming the best version of yourself rather than merely achieving outward success? In the next principle, Leo will delve into the Stoic practice of Memento Mori, reflecting on the brevity of life and learning how this perspective can inspire him to live more fully and intentionally. Principle 11. Memento Mori, remembering mortality. What if remembering that life is fleeting could inspire us to live with more purpose and presence? As Leo moved deeper into Stoic philosophy, he encountered a principle that stirred something profound within him, Memento Mori, which means, remember that you must die. At first, the idea felt unsettling. Why would the Stoics urge us to contemplate death? Shouldn't life be about focusing on the future, about hope and plans? But the more Leo thought about it, the more he realized that the Stoics weren't asking him to dwell on death out of fear. Instead, they were offering a perspective that could transform his life. By remembering that our time is limited, we are inspired to make the most of every moment, to live in alignment with our values, and to let go of trivial concerns. The Stoics believed that death wasn't something to dread, but a reminder to cherish the life we have now. One weekend, while hiking alone on a quiet mountain trail, Leo found himself deeply reflecting on this principle. The beauty of nature surrounded him, the crisp autumn air, the golden leaves, the quiet sound of the wind. In this moment of solitude, he felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude for the gift of simply being alive. He realized that all his concerns, his ambitions, and even his worries were temporary, part of a life that would one day come to an end. Yet rather than filling him with sadness, this thought filled him with purpose. What am I doing with this time? He asked himself. Am I living in a way that, at the end, I would be proud of? Remembering that life is fleeting encouraged Leo to focus on what truly mattered. He became more present with his loved ones, taking time to appreciate simple conversations, to express his gratitude, and to share moments of joy. In his daily life, he found himself letting go of petty concerns. When he encountered frustration or stress, he would remind himself, in the grand scheme of life, does this truly matter? This question helped him gain perspective, to release anxieties that once held power over him. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on mortality in his meditations, urging himself to live each day as if it were his last. He wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." For Marcus, the awareness of death was not morbid. It was a call to action, a reminder to live with integrity and purpose. Inspired by this, Leo began each day with a moment of quiet contemplation, reminding himself of life's impermanence and asking, "How can I make today meaningful?" Memento Mori also helped Leo clarify his priorities. He began to pursue the things that truly fulfilled him, rather than simply following external expectations or fleeting desires. He spent more time with family, pursued meaningful projects, and let go of superficial ambitions. For Leo, Memento Mori was not a reason to live in fear, but a powerful motivation to live fully. It was as though life had gained a new vibrancy, as each moment became precious, a fleeting yet beautiful part of his journey. Reflecting on mortality also gave Leo a sense of peace. By accepting the inevitability of death, he felt liberated from the pressure to achieve or acquire more simply to prove his worth. Instead, he focused on becoming the person he wanted to be, on living each day with intention and love. The Stoics taught that death is not to be feared, but accepted as a natural part of existence. This acceptance allowed Leo to let go of his fears and to embrace life with open arms, knowing that each moment was a gift. So, I ask you, how would your life change if you lived each day as though it might be your last? Could you, like Leo, find more meaning and purpose by focusing on what truly matters, knowing that time is finite? In our final principle, Leo will explore the importance of mindfulness and gratitude in everyday life, discovering how these practices can ground him in the present and bring him lasting joy. Principle 12. Mindfulness and gratitude. What if true happiness lies not in what we achieve, but in the appreciation of what we already have? As Leo approached the final stretch of his journey through Stoicism, he sensed a quiet but profound transformation. He had embraced resilience, practiced self-discipline, learned to accept change, and even come to terms with life's fleeting nature through Memento Mori. Yet he noticed that even with all these tools, he sometimes found himself feeling restless, looking for a sense of completion that seemed just out of reach. He wondered if there was a final lesson he had yet to learn, something that would allow him to savor life fully, in each moment. One evening, as he reflected on this lingering feeling, he recalled a passage by Marcus Aurelius. "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." Leo realized that this simple idea, gratitude, might hold the key to the fulfillment he was seeking. Perhaps, instead of focusing on what he still hoped to achieve, he could learn to find contentment in the present, appreciating what he already had. The next morning, Leo decided to start a new practice. Before beginning his day, he paused for a few minutes to reflect on 3 things he was grateful for. At first, it felt awkward and overly simple. What could he possibly gain from listing things he was thankful for day after day? But soon, this practice became a sacred moment in his morning routine, a grounding ritual that filled him with a sense of calm and completeness. He would think of small things, the warmth of the sunlight streaming through his window, the taste of his morning coffee, the comfort of his favorite chair. These moments became reminders of the beauty embedded in the ordinary, beauty that he had overlooked while searching for grander forms of fulfillment. As the weeks passed, Leo noticed a subtle but powerful shift in his perspective. No longer was he rushing through life, always looking toward the next achievement, the next milestone. Instead, he was savoring each day as it unfolded. He found himself smiling more, feeling a lightness that had been absent before. Gratitude was changing him, not by adding anything new to his life, but by helping him see the richness that was already there. Mindfulness became the companion to his gratitude. The Stoics taught that true peace is found in living fully in the present, unburdened by regrets of the past or anxieties about the future. Seneca reminded us, true happiness is to enjoy the present, without anxious dependence upon the future. Inspired by this, Leo began to practice mindfulness in his daily life. He started by paying close attention to his senses, the warmth of water as he washed his hands, the sound of birds outside his window, the taste of each bite during his meals. These simple acts became gateways to presence, grounding him in the here and now. One day, while sitting in his garden, Leo watched a butterfly land on a flower. He realized that in this small, seemingly insignificant moment, he was experiencing pure peace and contentment. The butterfly was beautiful, fragile, and fleeting, a reminder of the present moment's preciousness. He felt no need to capture the moment, to share it, or to turn it into anything more. He simply experienced it, fully, as it was. The Stoics taught that happiness lies not in acquiring more, but in appreciating what we already have. This principle, combined with mindfulness, allowed Leo to find fulfillment in the smallest details of his life. No longer did he feel the need to chase after external accomplishments for validation. He found joy in the act of being itself, in the simple pleasures that each day offered. Over time, Leo's gratitude practice extended to his relationships. He became more attentive and present with his loved ones, appreciating them not for what they could give him, but simply for who they were. Each conversation, each shared laugh, became a treasured moment. In the past, he might have taken these interactions for granted, but now he recognized them as the true riches of his life. This combination of gratitude and mindfulness allowed Leo to approach life with a sense of abundance, even during challenging times. When difficulties arose, he would remind himself of the good things in his life, grounding himself in gratitude rather than frustration. If he was stuck in traffic, he took the time to notice the details around him, the colors of the sky, the music on the radio, the peacefulness of being in the moment. This shift wasn't about ignoring challenges, but about changing his relationship to them. The Stoics believed that gratitude is a key to a contented life. Epictetus taught his students to find value in whatever circumstances they found themselves in, to see each moment as an opportunity to practice virtue, patience, and appreciation. For Leo, gratitude and mindfulness were not just practices, they were ways of life, reminders that true happiness isn't something to be pursued endlessly, but something to be recognized within each present moment. Through his journey with Stoicism, Leo discovered a contentment he had been searching for all along. It wasn't in the grand goals, the big achievements, or the approval of others. It was in the simple act of being fully alive, in recognizing the beauty of each breath, each thought, each connection. Leo had come to realize that life itself is the gift, and that living with gratitude is the truest way to honor that gift. So let me ask you, what moments in your life could you savor more deeply if you practiced gratitude and mindfulness? What beauty might you find in the ordinary if you paused to truly appreciate it? As Leo's journey with Stoicism draws to a close, he has learned that the path to a fulfilled life isn't about accumulating more, but about becoming more present, more grateful, and more in tune with the essence of who he is. Leo's journey through these 12 Stoic principles has been transformative, guiding him to a place of deeper peace, resilience, and purpose. Each principle, from controlling his reactions to accepting life's impermanence, has brought him closer to a life rooted in inner strength and meaning. He understands now that Stoicism is not just a philosophy, it's a way of being, a path to live each day with intention and grace. As you reflect on Leo's story, consider how these principles might apply to your own life. What if you too could navigate life's challenges with calm and resilience? How might your life change if you embraced gratitude, lived fully in the present, and focused on personal excellence? Perhaps, like Leo, you would find that the answers you seek are already within you, waiting to be discovered. If you found value in these insights, share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's learn from each other and support one another on this journey toward a life of fulfillment and purpose. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video to help others discover the timeless wisdom of Stoicism. Thank you for joining me on this journey. May you find peace, strength, and joy in each moment as you continue to explore the path of Stoicism. Until we meet again, remember, live not just for the destination, but for the beauty of each step along the way.